I just want to greet you and thank you all for coming over to Gallery Al-Quds on what is actually quite a beautiful Friday night where you'd probably want to be sitting outside somewhere. But we think that what you're seeing in here is worth your time for sure. I'm Dagmar Painter, for those of you who don't know me, and I run the art gallery here. And we are so pleased to host two amazing artists whose work intersects in quite a substantial way. The combination of their work became a serendipitous affair. The original planning was simply not this, but when I saw both of these artists' work, I thought this is the perfect opportunity to showcase the emotional impact that we all have when we think about what is happening in Syria. So what we're going to do tonight is Molly McCartney will speak first and talk a little bit about her photographs that she took in Syria in May 2010. As you saw the photographs, the framed photographs, you obviously realize that so much of it doesn't even exist anymore. And thank goodness we have her beautiful photographs as a reminder of what was. And as you walk through the gallery, then you became aware of Yasmine Dabbous' beautiful work. And she will talk a little bit later and explain about her installation, which is the moving images of the photographs of these young, beautiful Syrian children and some of their mothers, and why we have the embroidery hanging like laundry. And she'll talk to you a little bit about her kinship stories, amazing jewelry pieces. One note, Molly's going to be speaking on a much longer talk. On Wednesday, July 26th, there'll be emails about this, as a lunchtime talk. And she's going to be talking about Syria then and now, and it's going to be a more elaborate discussion of the photographs she took and the experiences she had there, comparing that to situations now. So we hope that many of you will be able to come for her talk there. So without further ado, let me first introduce Molly McCartney.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you so much. Also, thank you, Ed Garib, who was the guy who helped make this evening possible. And of course, Dagmar, who has taken the pictures and set them up in a wonderful way, and that works so well with Yasmine's work. Now let me explain briefly the story behind the pictures that you see on the walls. Oh, sorry. I thought I was talking loud enough. Have you missed anything that I said so far other than thank you very much for coming? Okay, so I want to talk briefly about the pictures which I took in May of 2010. This was during a 10-day trip through Syria with my good friend and colleague Carol Murphy. I know Carol from our days at the Washington Post. And one day she called and said, you know, I've worked in Syria on assignment, but I've never really had time to see the country. There's a lot of great stuff there. Would you like to go with me? And I said, of course. Who wouldn't want to go to Syria? We left my husband at home. He said, no, you girls have a good time. And we took off. We met in Beirut, and we hired a driver who took us to Aleppo, stopping at the Crusader Castle. And from there, we went to Palmyra and then down south Damascus before we ended up back in Beirut to fly home. Along the way, we had many adventures. We were not exactly Thelma and Louise. We didn't shoot anybody, and we didn't drive over the cliff, but we had many adventures. And I'll talk more about those at the June 25th program if you're able to come. At the time we were there, everything seemed so promising. John Kerry, who was then Secretary of State, had been going in and out, negotiating with the Assad government, and it looked like there was a chance that there might be a resumption of relations between the U.S. and Syria. So people we met seemed to think there was maybe going to be an improvement, that maybe there would be an increase in tourism, which meant more money, which was going to bump up the Syrian economy. So we felt there was sort of a promise. And one example of that was at a restaurant we went to in Damascus. It happened to be one where John Kerry had also been going because his picture was in the lobby. And the guy making bread, and you see his picture on the wall where he's doing that. And we went over to take his picture, and he said, asked us where we were from. We said U.S. He said, I love Obama. So that was sort of the reception we found over and over again. Very welcoming. I would also say that we could not have made this trip at a better time because 10 months after we got home, the demonstrations that led eventually to the Civil War and to then more war started. So we got there at a moment in time that was really perfect. And as a result, I have many pictures. I was shooting pictures knowing this was a trip of a lifetime, probably was never going to get back there. And I have several thousand pictures, which I did eventually condense into a book, which is on display out there. And then also from that, some of the framed pictures. And of course, since then, many of the scenes in these pictures have either been damaged or destroyed. And I'll be talking about that on June 26th, I think it is. I hope you can attend. But again, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the pictures, and I'll be glad to answer questions after we hear from Yasmine. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. I really, really appreciated that you came to share our memories of Syria, the good and the bad ones. Although I am from Lebanon and my story with Syria goes back a long way, the story that has initiated this exhibition is newer than Molly's story. It starts after the Civil War. I have been fortunate to work with Syrian refugees as a fiber artist, where I have commissioned women especially to work on pieces for me, either for my necklaces or for art installations, etc. And I have noticed through my interaction with them that textiles have played such a big role in improving their lives. And this is an image we rarely see in the media. My background is in media studies. I am originally a professor of journalism and media studies before going into the arts. And so this difference between what I saw in the media and what I saw interacting with these people was very striking for me. And I decided to make this installation, especially here in the US, where many do not have the possibility to interact with Syrian refugees as I do, but only see them through the media and see this like packaged stereotype of people on boats running for their lives. These images are true, and they did happen, but there is also some stories of resilience and some stories of optimism that I also wanted to relate. So I have chosen laundry lines because our whole area is full of laundry lines, and I was like shocked not to find laundry lines here in the US when I came. So I chose laundry lines as like a very defining way of putting the textiles. I printed refugee applications on which I also printed tiles of Damascus, the patterns of the tiles of Damascus, and I embroidered them myself to go through the same motions that the Syrian refugees go through as they work their way to stability. And I noticed that it takes a lot of time. It does, but it's also very, very peaceful and nice, and it brings you with this rhythmic movement a sort of grounding meditation that very few other activities can bring. And so I also went to the Nabaa camp on the suburbs of Beirut, and I took pictures of Syrian refugees. I asked them, like, can I take your pictures? They're gonna be shown in America. And they're like, of course, we want them to see us. Like, go show us, like, go show them, like, how we look, who we are. And I'm like, you're gonna smile. And they're like, of course we're gonna smile. And even though some of these people have suffered, like the woman who's holding the baby has lost her 3 children. Like I told her, like, you look very beautiful. And she's like, you should have seen me before I lost my children. But it is still a story of resilience. They are still able to smile, and they are still able to work, and they are still able to make a living. And so this is the message I have here for you today. And I am really happy that you came to share it with me. The necklaces are part of, I have a line of necklaces called Kinship Stories, and it revolves around values of multiculturalism and the idea of supporting artisanship. And so usually I will make a necklace from around the world, like pieces I hand collect. This is like my dream job. I hand collect them, and I hand collect vintage and antique pieces, and I put them together into necklaces. This collection in particular I made with Syria in mind. So every necklace is named after a Syrian city or town, and every necklace has a Syrian element inside it. So I'm gonna read one for you, if you want. A necklace called Tartus. So Tartus is from the collection, from the Syria-centered collection, and the cultures included in the necklace are Syria, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Yemen, Turkey, Egypt, and India. So this necklace belongs to a 12-piece collection celebrating Syria and calling for peace. It commemorates Tartus, the second largest city on the Mediterranean Sea. Tartus was well known as a summer destination for the country's residents before the outbreak of the war. The base of this necklace is made with traditional artisanal fabric from Anatolia, Turkey, as well as block-printed fabric from India, using traditional Turkish technique. The centerpiece is made with hand-embroidered cross-stitch vintage fabric from Syria. Originally part of a silk abaya, so abaya is like a robe. The piece is around 50 years old. Being made with this luxury yarn and fully embroidered, the fabric must originally have been worn in a well-off home. Today, it remains a witness to the beauty and intricacy of Syrian embroidery. The tassel dangling from the centerpiece is made with artisanal hand-scrapped and tanned camel leather from North Egypt. The tassel on top is Uzbek, and it is around 60 to 80 years old, and it was once attached to the braids of an Afghani woman, mostly as decoration, but also to show off her riches. Because, like, you know, the more the tassels are like intricate and made with silk and some silver, the more they show off. It's like a Mercedes for a car, you know, like. The triangular piece, on the other hand, is a vintage hand-embroidered amulet from Afghanistan. Such pieces of textiles have historically been sewn to clothing or attached to home decor and have hidden within them a variety of protective prayers. Triangles are prized for their protective powers in most cultures. The Yemeni bead is around 60 to 80 years old and comes from a larger bridal necklace. Today, these beads are increasingly rare to find, as they belong to a world that disappeared with the latest wars in the region. The crochet flower, finally, is an oya, or a handmade lace flower from the region of Anatolia. Anatolian women are well known for their beautiful oyas, often adorning the rims of scarves and clothes in their country. Although the media currently associates Syria with war and displacement, the country remains home to a rich history, beautiful traditions, stunning crafts, and hospitable people. This necklace, and you, its owner, stand here to remind us of colorful, beautiful Syria, and to celebrate the hands that make rather than those that kill. So, thank you.